If you are studying commercial law, you are going to encounter this specific question on your exam. It is worth 15 marks, and as you can see here, it appears in 3 distinct phrasing variations. To secure all 15 of those marks, you need a precise strategy. You must divide your answer into 4 mandatory sections: introduction, meaning, body, and conclusion. In Section 1, the introduction, you define your core term. Under the Indian Contract Act of 1872, consideration simply means something of value given by one party in return for a promise from the other. Next, you deliver the exact phrase examiners look for. Write down the Latin maxim, ex nudo pacto non oritur actio. This translates to, out of a bare promise, no legal action arises. Without this full-part structure and that specific legal terminology at the top of your paper, you leave guaranteed points on the table, regardless of how well you know the material. Moving to Section 2, the meaning. Here, you explain that consideration requires a two-way street. Both parties have to make reciprocal promises to each other. Look at the diagram on this slide. Person X promises to sell a bike, and Person Y promises to pay 45,000 rupees. The bike is the consideration for Y, and the money is the consideration for X. Both sides receive value. If that exchange is one-sided, the legal baseline shifts. As the text here states, a promise without consideration cannot be enforced by law. It is treated as void and null. That two-way flow of value is the exact mechanism required to elevate a casual, everyday promise into a binding contract. For Section 3, the body, you introduce a legal paradox. We just established the strict rule of consideration, but there are exactly 7 situations where that rule is intentionally broken. The first exception is agreements made out of natural love and affection. If a mother transfers a house to her daughter purely out of care, the agreement is valid without any money changing hands. However, you must state on your exam that this type of agreement has to be formally written and registered. The next tier involves past actions. If you voluntarily save someone's goods from a fire and they later promise to pay you, or if you hand over a watch as a completed gift, the law recognizes both actions as valid without a new reciprocal exchange. Then we reach a common friction point, the time-barred debt. This occurs when the legal time limit to collect an outstanding loan has completely expired. Even though the lender can no longer legally recover the money, if the borrower signs a new, written promise to repay it, that simple document resurrects the debt. No new money or value needs to be exchanged. The legal system carves out these specific exceptions to protect deep family bonds and established moral obligations that transcend standard financial trades. Finally, outline the business-oriented exceptions, creating an agency and forming a guarantee. If Ram borrows $50,000 from a bank and Shyam promises to pay if Ram fails, Shyam receives no consideration in return, but his guarantee is still legally binding. Let's pause to test your active recall. You have 3 seconds to type the exact Latin maxim from our introduction into the comments. These business exceptions exist to lubricate real-world commerce. They ensure that trade and trust can continue to function in situations where requiring strict two-way consideration would simply stall the economy. This brings us to the final requirement of your exam answer, writing a definitive conclusion. Synthesize your argument by bringing it back to the core principle. Reiterate that consideration is the absolute backbone of every valid contract, despite the narrow exceptions we just listed. To review your total answer structure, start with the introduction featuring the Latin maxim, move to the meaning with a reciprocal diagram, build out the body by detailing the exceptions, and finish with a solid conclusion. Executing this exact structure locks in maximum points from the examiner and proves you hold a firm practical understanding of commercial law.